going into youth activities shortly, and she asked, how often do you do welcome line? So if you could just explain what welcome line is and then explain how often you do it.
Oh yeah, so welcome line, it's basically, I feel like Disney is the only one that does this, because when I've cruised other cruises before, other cruise lines, I've not seen that. But basically you kind of wear like the white officer's uniform, like the white jacket. You're basically welcoming the guests, like you're just like basically clapping for a good maybe 2 to 4 hours straight. Like, you get your happy face on and, get your ears on and get happy. How often? This is such a hard question because I can tell you from each ship, so I can kind of divide that question into two categories. On the small ships, I did welcome line a lot often because I think we're on the small ships. YA team is a little bit smaller, so, and I think you also have more of the like special edition itineraries, like, oh, for welcome line for Europe, you're going to be on it all the time just because it's a smaller team during Europe season. And then I would say for welcome line on the big ships, every 2 weeks, if I can just say.
Wow.
Like, I feel like it depends on what cruise ship you are, but it's kind of cool doing actually welcome line on the Magic because you get to wear more prettier outfits for welcome line.
Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique is another department that does welcome line, but we only
Yeah.
had to rotate about once a month. I had to do
Yeah.
welcome line. So once or twice a month was for us. And there was only like 2 Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique or merchandise shop people doing welcome line at a time. The rest was usually YA or cruise staff. Yeah. Alrighty. Next question is, how do you remember all of the kids' names?
Oh, so it's so funny when people ask me this question because for me, I took pride in this because it's like one of my greatest strengths. If they did something funny that day, I was like, okay, that's Billy, he picked his nose or something, or that's Ashley, she was in a bad mood or something that day. So I don't know, I just kind of got into the kids that way, like it's just something to remember them by.
Do you find that it was harder on the Dream where you're doing a much quicker turnover than when you're doing, the 14-day itineraries, when you're doing the shorter itineraries, to remember the kids' names?
So on the shorter cruises, like on the Dream, I found it harder because it's like that's like more like a first time guest cruiser, like cruising. So it's like, even though you have 1,500 kids registered in our kids spaces, only like maybe 300 to 700 will come in, but it's like, I feel like it's always a different turnaround. Like it's always different kids every day with those 3 and 4 days. So it's like, I never really got to see any of them or know their names because was like a brand new kids every day, which I don't mind, but I was like, man, I like seeing, for me, when I got to the Magic and Wonder, I like doing those 14-day cruises because that for me was more personal, intimate, and like you only had to learn 100 to 200 kids' names, which I don't mind learning even more kids' names than that, but I prefer the longer cruises because it's like you really get to know them more personally. You get to know their names and what they like and they don't like. But for the shorter cruises, like 3 to 5 day cruises on any of the ships, like it can be a little hard because it's like, I feel like they're not consistent in coming in because it's like their first time cruisers, they want to get and do the activities around the ship.
Next question is, what is your favorite and least favorite program scheduled in the Kids Club?
Oh my gosh. So my least favorite, and every YA counselor who's probably looking at this and seen this video and can agree with me full-heartedly, I do not like Marshmallow Olympics. I'm so sorry. I do not understand the whole Marshmallow Olympics games, and I will explain
What is the
that.
Marshmallow Olympics?
Oh my
I need
gosh,
to know.
it's horrible. I don't get it. Like, and the kids like it, but it, like Marshmallow Olympics reminds me of like you're planning at like competition games but with marshmallows. And then my most favorite program, honestly, I really like the Toy Story Boot Camp program. I like that one a lot just because it's like you have Corporal Green from like the movie Toy Story. They'll teach the kids how to like be a Green Army soldier, and it's kind of cute. Like they do little like boot camp like drills. Another one that I really like, which I know can also be very stressful to as a YA counselor, I like that Anyone Can Cook cupcakes, where the kids get to make the cupcakes. I really like that because then I get to have a cupcake. Depending on who is the manager, as we mentioned earlier, depending on who is manager, my manager preference, I like that I do get cupcakes. It's very nice.
How fun is that?
Yeah.
I think that I never really got to go into the youth activity spaces when I worked on the ships, but as a guest, I got to see during open house, and I thought anything where there was a character that came in and did something fun with the kids. I remember I went on the Dream in 2016. We had some kids with us on the ship, so we got to go in when they did like a Star Wars thing. It was
Oh
very,
yeah,
very cool. Yeah, it was super cool. So
the programs are cool.
the next question is, what was your craziest experience on Disney Cruise Line?
I would have to say, like, my first contract, I was told that like we were gonna have a single cabin. So when I came, I was like, oh, I had to share with a roommate. Like there was a girl there, and I was like, oh, I was like, okay. And we didn't get along too well. I was not knowing about ship life. Of course, like there's college life and dorm life, which I was explaining to people. Like I think cruise ship life is like that similar, but I wasn't expecting a roommate. I was like, oh, you're gonna get a solo cabin because you're YA, and I was like, oh, perfect. Which, guys, that's not true. Please don't listen to that. But I mean, I think what me and her miscommunicated, misunderstood is like, I think we just had two different like patterns of how we cleaned. She should bring her friends a lot over, and it was just like always loud all the time. So I was just like, I just didn't know how to, I guess I didn't know how to navigate that first time with the roommate in my, and that for me, I feel like that was a crazy time because I always was on edge. And it's like, you know, when you're trying to adapt to a new situation, you're like, I don't want to upset them, but I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know their culture background. Like, I don't know if I don't know how to navigate that. Eventually, like with roommates in the future, I got better. And like right after the bat, I was like, hey, what do you feel like about people coming over, loud noises, like TV on? Like, I think like I wanted to sleep with the TV on. She was like, no. It was just kind of like one of those differences. Like, I know you had something similar in your Disney experience, I think with the DCP program. It was kind of like that. Like, it was just big misunderstandings. And I just, when you're new and like you feel like a baby new hire, like I just didn't understand where to go and how to navigate it.
Absolutely, for sure. And if I could just add to that, it is hard because you're in such close proximity with another person. And of course, like people are going to have boyfriends and people are going to, so that is complicated. I was very lucky on my contract, like in many ways, very lucky, but I was in like the rotational room. So I was in there all the time, but there was always a new roommate like coming in and out. So I never had the same roommate for too long, which was great. Yeah. And if I ever, I spent the night away. I didn't bring the fun back to my room, just as like, a courtesy. So
like I feel like that crazy time like taught me in the near future, which taught me a lot better how to communicate. And I like honestly tell people, like, I think with the cruise ship, it really taught me how to communicate better.
What does a typical daily schedule look like for YA? Like, well, how many hours are you working a week? And then what does your day look like broken down?
We don't have a set schedule. So other departments do have a set schedule. Ours is kind of like, we're very different every day. It's not the same schedule every day. But if I can categorize it to three, so you'll have like an early shift, you'll have like the middle shift, and then you'll have like the late night shift. Early shift should be starting in the morning, like between like 6 to 8 a.m. or 6 to 9 a.m. And then you finish between like maybe from 5 to like 8, kind of ending the shift. The middle shift, you kind of start at a daytime shift. So maybe like 12 o'clock or 1, and then maybe you finish at like 11 or 12. Then the late night shift, you'll probably start really super late, which you could have the whole day off to like sleep or go out and port. I think you'll start like 3, 4, or 5 in the afternoon, and then you'll finish at maybe like between 12:30 to maybe 2 a.m. in the morning. So our shifts are never the same. I get that question a lot on my page as well. Our shifts are really different, but then at the same time, I like that our shifts were different because then sometimes like the best schedule I ever gotten in all the years I was with the company, like I think 2 contracts ago on the Fantasy, I finished at 3:30 on an Aruba day. So then I think our crew all aboard wasn't till like 7:30 that night. So I got off in Aruba, ate till my stomach couldn't eat anymore, and just enjoyed my life. Then I asked permission from my manager. I was like, hey, can I ride the aqueduct? There's not going to be a lot of guests during the dinner time. Is that okay? Like, just, I would always say check in with your managers just to keep your back safe and just make sure you're coordinating with them with the communication. And they're like, yeah, that's okay. So I did that. So I feel like it's nice with our schedules because we have a variety of shifts. Like you get to finish early a lot and get to do a lot of things. And I don't know about the other departments, but from speaking with other departments and not speaking on that, but I don't know if the other departments finish as early as we do sometimes.
Yeah. Do you feel like you got a lot of time off in port as well?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I always tell people like I like our schedules and entertainment and overall like youth entertainment, main stage in general. Like I feel like our entertainment department, I feel like we do have a set schedule and set time just because we're such even though we're a small department, but we're also big in itself as well. So I think for port time, I always at least got at least maybe between 2 to 4 hours off, depending on your like if it's early, middle, or late shift.
Okay, to wrap up, our last question is, what was the most rewarding part of the job for you?
I like being on the Magic and Wonder, seeing those repeater families year after year, especially like if we're doing the 14-day cruise, transatlantic to Europe and back, or Panama Canal, whatever. It's nice because the guests do remember you and they come back year after year looking for you. And it's really like, as cheesy as it says, but it's very true. And I feel like it's true. The guests, they could cruise any cruise line, but honestly, when they come to Disney Cruise Line, they honestly go for the Ohana. Like, I think for us, for the crew members, they really go for us because, like, I remember one family, they're like, oh, Liz, we came back this year again because we knew you were going to be here. And, like, we, wanted to make sure, like, our kids still knew the same counselor and we still felt safe, our kids being left in the kids club because you're here. I was like, oh, thank you so much. And I just think that's rewarding when the repeaters remember you and they come back because of you.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for all of this insight. I feel like I've already learned so much, and it's just interesting to hear like from all like what's different on all the ships and all of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, this was great, and I'm sure people are going to come flooding in with way more questions. So if we do
Yeah.
another Q&A, if we have more questions, I feel like that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah. Press the like and subscribe on Gigi's account. I'll come for part 2. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
guys so much. Thank you for
Yeah.
watching, and thank you so
Yes.
much, Liz, for doing this interview for us. We really appreciate it because I know
Yeah.
a lot of my subs are,
Absolutely.
looking for this information. So we
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So just please follow Gigi if you have anything. And if you need to follow me, I'm at Cruising the Magical Seas on Instagram. I usually reply there. I'm also on TikTok as Cruising the Magical Seas, but please feel free to reach out to both of us. Happy to answer any questions. Done it all, done every port. So if you have questions on what it's like for all the different ports that I've been on to, I'm happy to answer that as well. And in general questions. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Happy Just You Tuesday, guys. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for watching.
Thank you.
Bye.